The war in Ukraine is now entering its second year, and Russian President Vladimir Putin is vowing to continue the fight. But with billions more in U.S. support to Ukraine and a strengthening of ties between Russia and China, where is the war headed and how long could it last? Joining me now, former NSA Director and head of U.S. Cyber Command, retired Admiral Michael Rogers. Admiral Rogers, thanks so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
No, thank you very much.
So can you put odds on the ability of Russian forces to take new territory? I mean, it's kind of looking like World War I in the trenches right now. What do you see there? We're bringing new weapons in from the West. How do you handicap it all?
So first, we have to acknowledge, we're all just guessing based on history and assessment. My experience leads me to believe that the most likely scenario is we're not going to see a significant change in the ground dynamic until the early summer at the earliest. What leads me to say that is we're in the winter right now. We'll then be progressing into the spring, which is a heavy mud season, which makes ground movement very difficult. Ukraine needs some time to assimilate the new weapons, tanks, armored personnel carriers, drones that are being provided by the West. So they'll need a few months, I think, to assimilate that and prepare for something potentially late spring, early summer. Meanwhile, from a Russian perspective, I think they've shown, even though they continue to use the winter to attempt to try to slowly move more westward, deeper into Ukraine, they're just unable really to effectively gain significant territory. And I don't see that changing in the immediate coming months.
Is there a particular factor or two that you will be looking for come early summer? And what do you think of the dynamic where perhaps China might be assisting Russia? And what about these new weapons? You mentioned those. I mean, they seem pretty impressive. The West has really given Ukraine our best stuff.
So I think what we'll all be looking for is to see how do these new weapons, these new capabilities that the West is providing to Ukraine, how are they actually employed in the battlefield, and do they generate further success for Ukraine? And that we're just going to have to wait and see a little bit, I suspect. Where we are right now, as you said in the opening, neither side seems to have enough strength to deliver a knockout blow to the other militarily.
Tell me about this tension between the Wagner Group and some people or leaders in Russia. How does that dynamic play out, and could it go so far as to actually threaten the Putin regime?
So I don't see it as threatening the Putin regime. The Wagner Group, a large mercenary private military, if you will, that Russia has turned to augment their own capacity. The Russian government has asked them to become a fighting element on the battlefield in Ukraine for Russia. That group now complaining, hey, look, we're fighting for you, but you're not giving us enough weapons. You're not providing enough support. We'll have to see how that plays out, because they have been among the more effective elements within the Russian efforts in Ukraine.
Okay. So is there anything else that could threaten Putin? The BBC is reporting that there are whispers among the Russian elite of trying to replace him. I think they're only whispers, or we'd never hear from those people again. But do you hear anything that could help us understand that?
I mean, it is possible, but what I would remind people is that Putin has either assassinated, expelled, or imprisoned any real domestic political opposition. That means if he's going to be removed, it's likely to come from one of the three primary power centers in the Russian structure, either the security services, the military, or the oligarchs, with the oligarchs likely potentially turning to either the military or the security groups. While that's possible, I haven't seen anything yet that leads me to characterize it as likely. And I would also remind people, if Putin were to be removed by one of those groups, the most likely scenario to me is whoever comes in behind him, while perhaps not as extreme as Putin, would not be some kind of Jeffersonian, a democracy advocate. I just don't see Russia significantly changing its position, even with a new leader coming in. But we'd have to see based on the specifics.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good bet. Let's pivot to this country. You were on the show 10 months ago, and we talked about how predictions of a massive Russian hacking attack hadn't really yet come to pass. What do you see on that now? And you did raise the issue of Western infrastructure possibly being threatened. Have you seen anything in that regard?
So I think you've seen a little bit more Russian probing of Western infrastructure, nothing significant to date. I think the first comment I would make a year into this conflict, Ukraine has shown an amazing level of cyber resilience. The Russians are doing significant cyber activity directed against Ukrainian networks and infrastructure, and Ukraine has been very, very effective in stopping it. I think one of the things that has perhaps led to a less broader use of cyber than we might have anticipated a year ago is that, at least for now, so far a year into this conflict, it appears that both the United States, the West, Russia have come to the conclusion that it is not in their best interest to broaden this conflict, either to a broader geography outside of Ukraine or into other domains like space or cyber. We'll have to see how long that self-restraint continues, if you will.
Well, one last question, and it's about self-restraint. The doomsday clock is now, I think, 90 seconds to midnight. The argument you just used, which neither the U.S. or Russia, I would think, see any benefit to using nuclear weapons, but we can't rule them out. What do you think?
I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think the intent is there right now. You can't rule it out. What I suspect would have to trigger something like that on the part of the Russians is if they felt they really had no other alternative to either, if they were concerned about Putin either being removed or losing power, or if they felt they had no other objective, although it would be such a, let me use the vernacular, a stupid move on their part. The response from the rest of the world, if the Russians think they're isolated and a pariah now, they haven't seen anything yet. What would happen if they ever decided to use nuclear weapons?
Well, let's certainly hope they recognize that. Admiral Rogers, thanks so much for sharing your insights.